Hello students, today let us continue to study the chapter on statistics. We shall learn a new topic, presentation of data. Before going to presentation of data, let us look what does the word data mean. So we have learned that this word data is nothing new. We have heard it earlier in our classes. So data is the plural form of the Latin word datum. So it means that it is a piece of information in the form of facts or figures, which is collected or represented for a specific purpose. So we collect information, and from that we will put it in the form of figures, okay, or we'll represent in terms of numbers. So basically that is what we call as data. So we'll see how to represent it. Now, we have already learned about collection of data in the previous class that there were two types. First were the primary data and secondary data. Now we keep on collecting data. Now we also need to know that we just can't keep on collecting data. We also need to present it in a meaningful manner. Just collecting data is of will make no sense. So usually data is of two types. First is the group data and the ungrouped data. So first we will take up the what is ungrouped data, and then later I'll teach you what is group data. So with the word ungrouped only, you will know that there will not be any groups or something made. So it will be something very individualistic style. So first is the raw data. So this word raw data means that there is no change in the data. Like if we take the examples of raw vegetables. So what happens is it is as it is. And once we cook, what happens? It changes its maybe color, texture. But in case if it is raw, it means that there is no change in it. So the same is also with data. So in case we take raw data, there will not be any change in the data, and it is in the same form as it was collected. So that is what we call it as raw data. Now they have given an example. If we consider the marks obtained by 10 students in a mathematics test, which are given below. So these are the marks, which is 55, 36, 95, 73, 60, 42, 25, 78, 75, 62. So these are the marks which were given obtained by 10 students. So this information is given, this data is given as it is. So there is no change made in the data. There's no arrangement, as you can see. It is just written as it is. We have not done any processing on this data. So this is raw data. Now, we come to the next thing that is called as range. Now, in case we have the data, and what we do is we take the difference of the highest and the lowest values in the given data, then we call this the range of given data. So to understand this, let us take an example. Again, we'll take the example of the marks obtained by 10 students in a mathematics test, which is given as below. That is 55, 36, 95, 73, 60, 42, 25, 78, 75, 62. Now, the question is to find the range of the given data. So when we are to solve this problem, what we need to do is we see that this it doesn't have any arrangement. Okay, it is the raw data, so we need to just do some amount of processing. So in order to do that, what we do is we need to arrange it in the ascending order. And the meaning of ascending order means it has to go from small to big. Now, if we see this raw data, we see the smallest number is 25. Then the next bigger number will be 36. So in this way, we arrange the data. So it will be 25, 36, 42, 55, 60, 62, 73, 75, 78, 95. So it has to be in increasing order. Then from this, we can easily see that 25 is the smallest number and 95 will be the largest number. So in range, we calculate the highest value minus the lowest value. So I'll write 95 minus 25, which will equal to 70. So this was to do about range. I will go to the next thing. Now, so whenever we have to present data, either in ascending or descending order, it will become time consuming in case we have a large number of data. Now we will give an example of this. In the previous case, we had only 10 students, but in case we have a class of 30 students and arranging this data in the ascending or descending order will be quite time consuming. So what can be done? So what we will do is we will convert it in the tabular form, okay, and we will call it as the frequency distribution table. So whenever we have a large number of items, what we do is we convert it in the tabular form. That is, we make a table out of it and we call it as the frequency distribution table. So now what does this word frequency means? So frequency is the number of times an item occurs. So we, given the information, we can easily present it in this kind of a table, which is called as a frequency distribution table. And we'll see like 10 has come how many times, and we write the frequency, meaning how many times it has occurred once. 20, how many students have got again 1. 36 was obtained by 3 students, 40 by 4 students. So here we have not made any group. We have just written the marks, whatever the students have got. Now, in case we have a bigger data like this, so here we have 100 plants, okay, which were planted in hundreds different schools during Varnama Mahotsav. And after the 1 month, the number of plants that survived are given as below. Now, in this case, the numbers are varying. So we have 95, 76, 75, 89, 93, 86. So now what is happening is hardly any numbers are in the hardly any numbers are same. Like if we have 95, we will check the frequency of 95. This 1, 2. We see here there is no 95, here there is no 95. So what happens is we have to draw this kind of table, the frequency distribution table. It will become very, very long. Okay. So what we do instead of that, we will group the data. Okay. So what we can make groups, like we can make, we have 90 to 99 range. If we make such groups, what will happen? We can make the table much more smaller and will become much more easier for us also to represent data. So now when we are making these groups, we call these groups of data as classes of class intervals. And the size of this is called as the class size or the class width. Now in each of the classes, we know there will be 2 numbers. So one will be small and the other one will be big. So the least number, we call it as the lower class limit, and the higher number, that is the greatest number, we call it as the upper class limit. So now we will take a class interval that is 20 to 29. So we know 20 is smaller than 29. So 20 will be called as the lower class limit and 29 is greater than 20. So we call 29 as the upper class limit. So the data is now in a condensed form. So now instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can use tally marks. So we know that 20 to 29 has come 3 times. So we write 3, 30 to 39, it has come 14 times. So we have to put 1, 2, 3, 4, and fifth line we strike. Okay, the fifth tally mark is strike. So this is 5. And again 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we strike. So 10 and 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 4. So now why we do this? So that it becomes easy for us to come to know. So when we have this 4 lines and then strike tally mark, we know that it is 5. So I can read out very easily. So 5, 10, 14. So in this case, I know 5, 10, 12. 5 plus 3, 8. 5 plus 5, 10, 15, 18. Plus 3 will become 18. Then 5 plus 5, 10. 5 plus 5, 10. Plus 5, 15. Plus 5, 20. Plus 3, 23. Here 5 plus 5, 10 plus 2 will give me 12. And then we need to add all the frequencies and see what is its total. So in today's class, we have learned about the presentation of data. So we saw about ungrouped data, which was raw data. So we did not make any groups over there. And we also saw about range, which was the highest value minus the lowest value. And then we saw that it is not always possible to have ungrouped data and present it in the form of the frequency distribution table. So we said that it's better. What we do is, for ungrouped data, it becomes very tedious when the experiment is large. Forming the frequency distribution table for an ungrouped data is very difficult. So what we thought, we better group the data, and we said when we group the data, we call it as class intervals. And the two numbers, one will be the lower limit, the smaller one, and the greater one will be called as the upper limit. And we will see how many times the event has occurred. We called it as frequency, and we mark the data using the tally marks. Thank you, students.